Welcome, welcome. I am about to share the screen right now. Yes. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining me in the talk. How to move from duality to non-duality. So I will be talking and answering different questions through this series of how to move from duality to non-duality. Today, the question is, who am I and how do I identify? Yes, we must move from duality to non-duality. Question today is, who am I? You must self-inquire to know your truth. How will you know if you don't ask? Through self-inquiry and stillness, your supreme teacher will rise up from within your self-soul to answer your question. Yes, you have a teacher within you that will rise up to answer you. That is what I have done. Who am I? Taking this form in this body right here. I am Primal Light, prepared for the world with this self-identity and in this form as Auset, Aten. I am the Liberator, and I advocate for all selves. You want to be on a mission, self-rescue, to castrate this duality dream character called the ego false self, to return to being your real and true self. Who am I is the question. Do you know who you are? You are under false self-identification. How do I identify? How do you identify? You want to honestly answer that question. I did not know who I was, and so I inquire within myself. Supreme Teacher within rose up and answered my question. Remember that the battle that must be won is against the mind. The battle has always been the mind against the self. The mind is sick and prone to delusion, mental sickness, and evil. Stillness calms, purify, and heal mind sickness. Stillness is the remedy for the mind. Who am I? How do I identify? You want to answer this question. All is myself, I alone exist. All myself must return unto me. Hail, hail to the Primal Light. I want you to do this affirmation with me. This salutation to the Primal Light with me. Hail, hail to the Primal Light. Hail to the true light. Hail to the transparent light. Hail to the light throughout the ages. Hail to the light without beginning or end. Hail, hail to the primal light. Hail to myself supreme primal light. Repeat after me or with me. I am primal light. I am the true light. I am primal light. I am the true light. I am primal light. I am the true light. Now let's continue reading. I bow to the primal teacher. I bow to the eternal truth. I bow to the eternal self. I bow to the great supreme wisdom within. I bow to the great supreme truth within. I bow to the great supreme intelligence within. I bow to the great supreme teacher within. Hail, 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 hail to the primal light. Salutation to all myself, supreme, in alignment. Bring balance to this dream existence. Hail, hail to my fragmented primal light self, Aten Ra. Hail, hail to my fragmented primal light self, manifest. Hail, hail to my fragmented primal light self, the unmanifest. Hail, hail to my void self, manifest. Hail, hail to my void self, baby, unmanifest. Hail, hail to my unified void self, unmanifest. Hail, hail to myself supreme. I am that has no name. I am that can't be explained. Hail, hail, hail. Hail to my supreme self, my one true self. Hail to my primal light self. Hail, hail, hail. Hail to the primal light. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you again for joining me. You must engage the mind in stillness to move from duality to non-duality. Will you play stillness with me? I give honor to myself supreme. So now we will do the vibration. remember to spiral the vibration around the body. Let's do that vibration again. Remember to practice each of these vibrations half an hour. Let's move on to the next vibration. Now let's do that vibration again. And now we will do the third vibration. Ready? So remember that to know your truth, that you must self-inquire. Because we have to remember that you are inside of a dream. So to know the truth, you must ask. Because if you don't ask, you will not know. Who am I? Do you know who you are? Do you know who you are? You must self-inquire to know your truth. You have to sit in stillness so that you can know. There's only one way to know. There's only one way to go. You have to go inwards to know. You must ask the question. That's the only way that you're going to know. So right now, we are going to play the song. I'm going to play this tune, Who Am I? Self-Inquiry. Because you want to self-inquire so that you can know your truth. Because this is the only way that you are going to know. How will you know if you don't ask the question? You will not know, because the Supreme Teacher is within. Your Supreme Teacher is within your self soul, and will rise up with self-inquiry. And if you want to know, you must ask to rise up your Supreme Teacher. So let's ask the question. So let's share the screen. We'll just jam with this vibe.
Who am I? What am I?
Very good. Now it's time for Who Am I meditation. Shoulders up, back straight, nice and tall. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? How do I identify? Who am I? Who am I? Self-inquiry. Who am I? Who am I? Self-inquiry. I've got to ask the question, that's the only way that I'll know. Got to ask the question, that's the only way that I'll grow. Who is the real me? Real self arise. Ego gotta go goodbye. Bye-bye, ignorance, child. Who am I? Who am I? Self-inquiry. Who am I? I self-inquire within. I self-inquire to know my truth. Who am I? What am I made of? How did I come into being? How did I get here? Where do I go after I leave here? What is the source of my existence, allowing me this world experience? Who am I? What is my destiny? Who am I? Self-inquiry. Who am I? Self-inquiry. Who is the real me? Real self arise. Ego got to go goodbye. Bye-bye, ignorance, child. I got to ask the question, that's the only way that I'll know. Got to ask the question, that's the only way that I'll grow. Who am I? Who am I? Self-inquiry. Who am I? Self-inquiry. Who am I? Self-inquiry. Who am self-inquire. I call, 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 I call. I call on my supreme truth within. I call on my supreme truth within. I call on my supreme wisdom within. I call on my great supreme teacher within. I call on my great supreme intelligence within. I call on my great supreme wisdom within. I call, I call, I call, I call, I call, I call. I call, I call, I call, I call, I call, I call. I call on my great supreme teacher within. Rise. Who am I? Real self arise. Who am I? Self-inquiry. Who am I? Self-inquiry. Real self arise. Ego gotta go goodbye. Bye-bye, ignorance, child. Got to ask the question, that's the only way that I'll know. Got to ask the question, that's the only way that I'll grow. How do I identify? Who is the real me? Who am I? Self-inquiry. Will the real self arise? Will the real self arise? I seek my truth from within. Who am I? Seek my truth from within.
I seek my great supreme truth from within.
Will the
I
real
seek
self
my great
arise?
supreme teacher within.
Will the
I
real
seek my
self
great
arise?
supreme intelligence within. I
Who
seek
am I?
my truth from within. I seek my great supreme wisdom within. I seek my truth from within.
Real self arise.
Who am I? Self-inquiry. Who am I? Self-inquiry. Who am I? What am I made of? How did I get here? Where did I come from? How did I come into being?
Who am I?
Who am I? Self-inquiry. Who am I? Self-inquiry. Who is the real me? Real self arise. Ego got to go goodbye. Bye-bye, ignorance child. I've got to ask a question, that's the only way that I know. I've got to ask a question, that's the only way that I grow.
Who am I?
Who am I? Self-inquire. I trust my truth from within. I trust my great supreme truth within. I trust my great supreme wisdom within. I trust my great supreme intelligence within. I trust my inner wisdom. I trust my inner truth. I trust my inner supreme intelligence. I trust my inner supreme teacher. I practice discernment to be able to differentiate the real from the unreal, the self from the ego. I have to be awake, alert, attentive, and aware.
Who am I? Who am I?
Who am I?
Who am
Who
I?
am I? Self-inquire. Who am I? I self-inquire. Who am I? Self-inquiry. Who am I? Real self arise. Ego got to go goodbye. Bye-bye, ignorance child. I've got to ask the question, that's the only way that I know. Got to ask the question, that's the only way that I grow. Who am I? Self-inquiry. Self-inquire. Self-inquire. You've got to ask yourself the great intelligence within. You've got to ask the great intelligence within. You've got to trust your great supreme wisdom within. You've got to trust your great supreme teacher within.
Who am I?
Self-inquire to know your truth. Who am I?
Who am I?
Who am I?
Who am I? Who am I? Who am I?
Who am I?
Am I?
Who am I?
Am I?
Who am I?
Who am I? Who am I?
Am I?
Am I?
Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I?
Who am I? Who am I?
Who am I?
You must
Who
ask,
am I?
seek within yourself. So,
Who am I?
your soul is your real self.
Who am I?
Supreme Teacher, rise up from where? Yourself. So,
Who am I?
call into your soul, go into your soul, Make this hand formation.
I'm the light. Prepare for the world.
Put it over
Pay
the
attention
center
to
of your
Auset.
chest.
I am the daughter of the Self-Supreme.
Call
Primal
into yourself
light.
soul.
Thank you so much for joining me on Stillness and Self-Inquiry. Who am I? You must self-inquire to know. Who am I? What am I made of? See you in the next video.
Yes. You must self-inquire to know your truth. There's just only one way to know. This is how you know. By inquiring. You have to still ask the question. Even though I am sharing with you, you have to ask because you want the Supreme Teacher to rise up and speak to you. And the Supreme Teacher will do that, will answer to your question. Do not stop asking until the Supreme Teacher rise up and speak to you. Keep asking, non-stop. Just keep asking, who am I? I know now you are many of you will come into self-realization of who you are. That is awesome. Now you want to rise up the Supreme Teacher within to answer your question. Any question you want to ask, Supreme Teacher will rise up to answer it. Your self-soul is the intelligence of the self. The mind is the intelligence of this duality dream world. The mind does not know the self. You cannot look in the mind to find yourself. You will only get caught up in the duality. That's not what you want. You want to know yourself. And so the next tune that we are going to look at is how to awake the Supreme Teacher within, or I will probably do I seek the call into the soul. One of them. Let me see which one is right here. Yeah, you want to not give up. You know what I'm saying? So, how to awake the baby self, baby great I am. So we could do that one too. Let's do that one. So this is one. All right. So let's share the screen with that one. I want to thank you for joining me. Do not stop asking, who am I? Because the mind is always trying to deceive you. You want to know for yourself. That's why you have to ask. Who is seeking to know? Because the soul is in awareness of itself. Who is seeking to know? Who is seeking to know? The avatar. The avatar is in a coat, like when you have like a strawberry and you throw the coat of the chocolate over the strawberry. You don't know that there's a strawberry underneath the coat of the chocolate, right? You're just thinking that it's just a chocolate, right? So this is the same way how the mind has put its energy and encased the self and have created a mind avatar. So all of this coating that is over the self has to come off, because the self doesn't know itself, because you are existing right now with this coating over you as the mind avatar, this God being, the dream character, and you are thinking that it is yourself, and the mind is thinking that it is a self. The mind is so delusional. So this is going to allow the mind to know that it is not a self, it is just a mind. The thought processing and the memory aspect and all these things, yeah, but it is not a self. And so this is what has to happen. So you have to call within yourself so that you can know for yourself, so that the mind can come into realization. Because the mind is in ignorance, you know. The mind is in ignorance because the mind think that it is a self. The mind is not a self. So let's do this. How to awake a baby self. Baby great I am. So let's do this tune.
So how do I awake the baby self, and why? You have to awake the baby self because when you came into this existence, the baby self went to sleep. The self, so fragmented self, made a baby self. The baby self animates the body and the soul becomes a watcher. The baby self is obscure behind the mind, and the self doesn't even recognize this baby self because the ego has risen up because the self sleeps and has taken precedent over the self. And you have been exploring the world only in the ego while the real self sleeps. And this is the reason why you have to castrate the ego. First you have to wake up the baby self. Wake up the baby self so that the soul can recognize itself, and so the baby self can know that the soul is its re-self because it needs to merge back in union as one self. So how to wake up the baby self? First you have to self-inquire. You have to ask the question from the intelligence within you. You have to self-inquire. Who am I? Who am I? How did I come into being? What is the source of my existence? What is the source of my existence allowing me this world experience? You have to self-inquire, and every time a thought comes, you have to ask, from where does this thought arises? Who is the thinker? Because you have to get the mind engaged to go looking for the self, and this is what's going to wake up the baby self. Every single day you have to do a meditation. Sit down and self-inquire so you can ask. And then you call to the baby self. Awake, baby self, the great I am. God obscure behind the mind. Ego is the false I. Awake, 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 awake. Now it's time for the baby great I am meditation. Sit in a lotus position, shoulders up, back straight, nice and tall. Open your eyes, you will self-realize. Oh, great baby I am. I am that I am. God obscure behind the mind. Awake, awake, awake. Awake, 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 awake. Awake, baby self, baby great I am. Open your eyes, you will self-realize. You've been sleeping for ages. Rise up, rise up. The ego, you must castrate it. Rise up, oh baby, great I am. God, obscure behind the mind. Awake from your slumber of ignorance. Awake, 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 awake. Awake from the sleep and your slumber. Oh, baby, great I am. God obscure behind the mind. Arise, arise, arise. You've been sleeping for ages. The ego, you got to castrate it. Join union with your real self. Awake, awake, awake. I become one with my consciousness. Divine I am, higher self, my true guru. I seek your grace. My faith is firm with love and undivided devotion. I seek refuge in your grace. I have to attain the state where my I am dwells. With unwavering conviction, my true self I seek to know. I accept willingly your primal will in utter faith and trust in my great I am, myself supreme, primal light, Aten Ra. I turn my consciousness back into itself. I surrender this self to the great I am, the knower of consciousness. I am primal light. I pass the baton to you, great I am, true guru. Self supreme, Aten Ra. Oh, great I am. I am that I am. Primal light I am. I am that has no name. I am that can't be explained. Oh, great I am. I am that I am. Open your eyes, you will self-realize. Oh, great baby, I am.
Yes. Let's turn this thing back on. Yes, so there's another tune, you know. So it's just about just inquiring within yourself. You know, you have to inquire within yourself so that you can know. If you don't inquire, it's going to be really hard for you to know that. Hail to the Primal Light. Thank you for joining me. Yes. Yeah, the self supreme made everything really simple for us, because the self knew that the mind is very deceitful when in the duality, and so everything had to be very simple. Working with the self, I realized that everything was very childlike. You know, anything that a child, the youngest child can do, it means that you can do it. Because I have worked with 2-year-olds doing this. And as you see in the picture with the who am I, self-inquiry affirmation, that was the 2 and 3-year-old groups. Yeah, maybe there were some 4-year-olds in there too. I'll look at it again. Yeah, so I work with even 2-year-olds with this. They sit down and they do the vibrations. I'm telling you, half an hour is gone and they're into the vibration. They have forgotten about their bodies and these things. This is so amazing. And they are chanting those vibrations and asking, who am I, who am I? Because I tell them, I said, don't ask mommy, don't ask daddy, they do not know. I want you to sit in stillness and ask. Who do you ask? Yourself. Yeah. But of course, some of the teachers did not like that. So, you know what I'm saying? They don't like, because they want to teach the children about Jesus and all this foolishness. To give their souls, to imprison themselves. And I tell the children, seek your truth from within you. I activate all of those children. I activate all of them already. So all of those people, they have no power over them because I already activate those children. The Self-Supreme activate them because I have been working with them and they're activated. So they're gonna those things that they are telling them as soon as it's gonna bounce off of them pretty soon. They're gonna revert back to what I told them. Yeah, because they already been activated by the I and the Self-Supreme. Yeah. So if you have young children, you want to do the same thing with them. You might think that they are not getting it. But remember that they are what? Great beings in this little small body. So don't be looking at this little tiny body and underestimate, these great powerful selves. Yeah. Activate them. Say these vibrations. Do these vibrations with them. Do these affirmations with them. And self-inquiry with them. Do that with them. You just sit down 5 minutes each time. You just start off, you make a challenge out of it because children love challenge. Who can do it the longest? I always do that. Who can do it the longest? And if they want something that I have, I tell them, after. Because when I'm working with children, I always bring treats. Because they always seem to be hungry. They always want something to eat. So I always bring healthy things and introduce them to things that they are not familiar with. Vegetables and fruits and healthy snacks that they might not know of. Because most of the environment that I was working in was children from environment that, their parents will give them some crazy breakfast, with some pound cake, little Debbie cake or something like that for breakfast and a bottle of soda or something like that, Those are the environments of the children I was working with. Yes. So these children were like so ready for me. So, that's what I am saying, that the Self-Supreme made everything so simple, encoded in everyone, in every self. This is encoded for you to activate yourself. So simple, so amazing. So just self-inquire, and then you just stop talking. Because in your prayers, you're constantly begging, God, give me this, God, give me that, God, give me this. Stop with your begging. You are the Self-Supreme. You can command things and you can come within your reach. You are a creator creating. But no, you become a beggar and imprison yourself for begging things in this world. God, give me this and then you can get my soul. You can imprison myself for... If you hear sometimes the church people, the things that they're telling God to do to them, bind them up. I'm telling you, it's ridiculous. Some things that, why you want to be bind up and to be enslaved forever and all these eternity slavery. No, This is crazy. This is why we have been locked in this dream for such a long time, because you've been binding yourself up in many lifetimes. I was once working with a friend of mine. This was when I was really coming into myself, and I was very aware of, lots of powers within myself. And when I saw her, she was like a skeleton. Her soul was not within her. And these long chains was attached to her, and she was sick, and, she came around me, and she was around me for a while. And I did not know all these, I had all these abilities within myself to do. But because she was my sister friend, and I loved her, and I wanted to help her, this was when I discovered these things within myself, what I could do. Yeah. And so this is when I went down into what they would call hell. That's where the devils are. Because when your parents are doing voodoo and all these things, and they sell your soul to the devils, and they're doing all kind of things and imprison you, as a child, your parents do that to many ones. And so she had many lifetimes when she was bind up in these things, because some, when they live a lifetime, they be witches by making connection with these devils. People just binding up the self. That's what they're really doing. What is witchery and all those things? That's what they're doing. With the gods, you're just binding yourself up in how many lifetime. This is the witchery. And they come and they terrorize you and these things and harm you. And then they send, if you have a family member that come out of the body and go into the invisible world, they conjure them up to come and terrorize you in your body. They come in your body and torture you. Yeah, so these are the things they do. If they're upset with you, they go conjure somebody up and send them come into your body, and and so when I saw her, and this was and so I went down in there, and I fought for her soul and got it back to put it back into her body. These are the things that I was doing and did not know what I was doing, but out of love I always found out the abilities that I had. And I said, who is it that I am that I could do these things? But I never knew. And this was years ago. This was such a long time. And so I did that. But what happened is that when I finally returned back and came back up, brought our soul and returned it back to her, I was sick for a while. And, I had to learn how to heal myself back, to bring myself back from all of the battles that I was doing, to going into the invisible world, into what the devils are, the gods them call the hell, because that's what they do. They have a place where they do all of these crazy things into the invisible world. Yeah. And so I was doing this kind of work a lot. I was going into, because it's like a labyrinth, and I knew where to find all of the souls them. And I would just go into there, pick them up, and just come up, rise up out of the labyrinth over it, because if you try to go through the maze, you can't find your way. You get lost. So I would just rise up, flying up out of it. There was just so many experiences, So sometimes your parents have locked you in, but the self has made everything very simple, that even if you're bind up and tied up and you want to know your truth and you want to seek it within you. And so this is one of the reasons why I do this with children, because many children are tied up and bind up by their parents into these things, because the parents are doing these craft, And so when I go to work with children, you see children behave in some ways and you're wondering why they are behaving certain ways. Yeah. So when I go, I release them. I release children from these binds. Yeah. You can do that with children by letting them do these affirmation and release themselves from all binds that they have tied themselves up in, and any bind that their parents have tied themselves up in any past lifetimes. Yeah. Many ones are just existing without no soul. They're just a skeleton, you know, and their self, the spirit, is enslaved and is all tied up into witchery, doing evil to others, sending the crazy-minded beings to harm others. So know that, you know, you want to be just inquiring into yourself, because you don't know when you are calling on God. Which one of the God them showing up to answer you? The one that is the devil, the one that is the Satan, because they're all gods. They show up and you have no idea what you're tying up yourself in. Because I have noticed this with a lot of the church people. If you notice, they're always doing something evil. They're always raping some children, doing some sexual thing. They're all homosexual. Because it can show you, to tell you, the pastor is having sexual intercourse with all of the young girls in there. You know, and they have rivalry with each other. I have known so many pastors to do that. I have had many of them come after me. But I was never interested. I was never interested in relationships. Because I know the devil was on them, and one of the gods them. They were trying to get to me. Want to get me into their little foolishness. You know, all tied up. Yeah, and so this is what's happening, because you're not seeking the truth within you. Your mind gets tied up into all of this. So you don't want to tie yourself up in by calling on any deities and any gods. Your self-soul is what you want to call on. I know many one disagree with me, because, you know, they're not seeing things the way that they actually are. You must see things. You must rise up to see things the way that they are. And even if you can't see things the way that they are, look at the things that's happening in the dream. When people are calling on God, has God made them any purer? No. It's always their soul that is trying to balance them. It's never because of God why someone is doing something good, but they give reverence to God. They give reverence to the deity, because they're controlling your mind, and you are promoting them. Self-inquire within yourself, soul. Your soul is your real self. If God was so powerful, why is God wanting your soul? It should tell you something. This is a red flag that why is God campaigning to get your soul and don't want you to communicate with anyone else? Because that don't sound like a narcissist. You ever have a narcissist boyfriend? They want to control you, control your thoughts, control everything that you do. God is a jealous boyfriend. Yeah. When I came of age, I'm telling you, by the time I was 16, 17, 18, Mr. God sound like a jealous boyfriend. I denounced God. Because, you know, we grew up with the followers of Jesus. I denounced Jesus. Yeah, because, you know, we used to love ourselves some Jesus. Love Jesus. And I said, no. This doesn't seem right to me at all. When that which came as my mother said, you need to give your soul to the Lord. I said, why do I need to give my soul to the Lord? The Lord doesn't have a soul. And I said, why is it that they can't balance their emotion? They're always jealous. I said, if I can be without jealousy, because I was never jealous of anything or anyone. You know? And I said, why is God jealous? That it just did not make sense. You have to ask questions. Don't be afraid. They put fear in you because they don't want you to know the truth. Self-inquire to know your truth. And so I denounce all deities and all gods. I mean, I didn't know about a lot of the other deities until I came to America and learned about there's so many of them, especially in the voodoo culture, the Orisha culture. I did not know about them. But I know that I did, like in Jamaica, I know they do voodoo, but I did not know that the gods them were called. I thought it was just the devils. I thought they were just, they were all just devils. But I did not know that it was the gods them playing the devil role, because the devil is really created when God mind gets so sick, God become a devil. Because the gods them, they're always dwelling in their memory and their imagination. Everything that they tell you is about memory, something that's happened in the world, and it's in their memory or in their imagination. They do not know the real. They can never stay present in the present moment. They're always in their imagination and their memory, reliving stuff, reliving. So they do not know the real, and they do not know the truth. They just dwell in their memory and their imagination. And that's what they do to you. They loop you into the memory and imagination. Especially when you're meditating and you're doing the vibrations and you're loosening all this magnetic energy, because now the blackness is becoming clearer. You can see. Because remember, when you first started meditated, could you see? Nothing. It's all blackness. Because you are immersed into the darkness. That is also one of the self, the duality to the primal light is the darkness. And so this is why everyone is coated into that darkness. So you only start releasing yourselves when you start doing meditation and doing affirmation and start piercing through these realms of the darkness. Then you can be able to see around you and see things, which takes some practice to do. Yeah. So, you want to not call on any. I know that many ones are encouraging you, and the mind is going to trick you. But do not call on anyone. Seek your truth from within yourself, soul. Because it is the only real and the only truth in here. All of the gods, they are wearing a costume. See, like that strawberry, and you put the chocolate over the strawberry, they themselves, their self is under the God mask. They are the self under the mask. But because the coating of the ego, the mind is over them, they have become the mind being. And so all of the gods, they are mind being. All of them are mind. If you ask them, they will tell you that they are the mind. And we know that this mind is the tainted consciousness. We know that this mind is the duality mind. So can you really trust them? If they are the duality mind, can you really trust them? They're always trying to trick and deceive you. You cannot trust anything this mind creates. It's a deception. It's an illusion. The only real and the only thing that you can trust is yourself, soul. You came into this dream with yourself, soul. And you have to leave with it. You have to leave with only the thing you came into the dream with. You cannot leave attached to any of the deities them. Any of the gods are nothing into this dream. You have to that spirit self that's in ignorance have to merge back with the soul self to leave. It has to unify to leave. It cannot leave out of here separated like it is right now. So be busy right now, liberating yourself from this duality. Stop calling on God. Stop seeking your truth outside of yourself, and stop following, because everybody is saying something. You mean that you must follow them because you want to fit into whatever they're doing. Now they're propagating shadow work. Everywhere you go now, you see, shadow work. This is another trickery of the mind to get you caught up again in the shadows. No, you want to go find your soul. Your soul is the light. Your soul is illuminated. You are the one in darkness. That's why you're spinning around and can't find yourself. Go immerse yourself into your soul. Your soul will take care of everything that needs to be taken care of, because you are the shadow behind of your mind. You think you can go find yourself like that? No, you have to go into the soul. The soul will help. The Supreme Teacher will rise up to liberate you, because let me tell you something. Nobody out there in that world doing shadow work can liberate you from there. can pull that ego off of yourself. None of them can do it. Not one of them can do that. I'm telling you this. All the gurus, they can't do it either, because many of them got taken over by all of the gods. And so if you look, especially the one them with the big belly, look on them, they're eating healthy, but their belly big. Them have a God in a them belly. I take all I want to soul. Yeah, know this truth. Along with the preachers them. The preachers them with a big belly, it means that they also have a God in a them belly that's taking all of the souls from the congregation. That's why the God them hang out at church and the ashrams and anywhere anyone who claims that they are enlightened. Because that's what they do. They have come to do it to myself. Yeah. Seth was inside of my belly making a cocoon in there. Making his babies in there. Yeah, was hiding one of his babies in there. And when Aten came, she searched and find it. And calling back to come and get it. I did not want Seth to come back into this body. Seth tortured me so badly. Seth is the devil. That's the role that he was playing. Because you know why? His mind was so sick. Seth had the sickest mind of all of the gods. Of all of them, Seth's mind was the sickest. He was the worst. Tortured me a lot. From I was a child, Seth has been chasing me and was showing me that he was my brother. He used to come and put the face on of the brother that I grew up into Jamaica with. And I always used to say in my dream, why is my brother? And it was my brother that was always the rebellious one, that's always giving trouble. That was that brother that he used to come possess. And I would say, why is my brother always chasing me and fighting me in my dreams? And I couldn't understand it. But he was trying to tell me that he was my brother. Yeah. And he said, I told you that I would find you. I did not know why he was chasing me and wanted to find me. But of course, later on, I found out why. You know? So I am just saying this, that they're all wearing disguises. So don't call on anyone. Don't go to no one. Go to no one. Just follow the techniques that I give to you. You don't even have to come to me. And I am in alignment with all of our supreme selves. Yeah, but I'm telling you what to do because I want for you to experience yourself. This way you can know for yourself. If you inquire within yourself and go into your soul, then you're going to know for yourself. You want to know for yourself. You don't want to follow. You want to know for yourself. And I want to encourage you to not stop asking questions of yourself. The mind will also try to answer to deceive you. This is the reason why you want to ask, from where does this thought arise? And when you rise up the Supreme Teacher within, it's easier to get a good answer if you ask yes or no questions. Like, say if you ask, who am I? It's going to take the self a little while to answer to you because the mind is going to jump up and answer first. So what the self does, the self will wait sometimes when you're coming back into the body. It answer you and speak to you. Or when the mind is distracted, this is when, like, sometimes if I ask a question and I'm busy washing some dishes, or I'm cooking and the mind is focused on what I am doing, then the self will answer my question. So this is how the self works to answer you, because the mind is always trying to deceive you. You might not get the answer at the same time when you ask it. But if you ask a yes and no question, like, say like today, no, I'll say to the self, Self Supreme, are we going outside to today? You know, because I usually go outside. The self will say yes or no to me. By the self spirals all the way around the body and go back and forth with that like that, and sometimes do like this in both direction. But now the consciousness or its duality will do the same thing to trick me. So I stay still and I ask again. And I said, did you just answer? The self said no. Then I said, can you answer? Because the mind is always jumping to answer first. So just practice discernment. Always asking, from where does the thought arise? Who speaks? So that you can know. Because the mind is always trying to trick you. And if any of the gods then visit you, they're always trying to trick you. But now, there shouldn't be many of them in the world. See, I have a bug right here. There shouldn't be many of them in the world because the Self-Supreme is moving them into balance so that they can return to non-duality. And so the few that's there, pretty soon they are going to be moved back into, wherever the lineage that they came from. They're all moving back because they all have to be attached to Aten Ra and Amen. Because all of the masculine come from Amen, all the feminine come from Aten Ra. And so they have to go back into that lineage of how they came, masculine, feminine, and back into whichever one of the Supreme Self that they came from. And then the Supreme Self merges back into Aten Ra. So this is how the lineage work. Like for myself, myself right now is attached back to Shiva. I have Mahat merged back with myself, and Ptah has merged back into Shiva, and Mahat is merged back into me. So Shiva and myself now is merged back as one unified self. So we came from the lineage of the first baby Primalite self from Aten Ra. So myself and Shiva was the first baby Primalite self. This is why I am the personal self of Aten Ra. Everyone is her baby self, but because I am the first and Shiva is the first baby self of hers, we had a very specific role to play. Just like everyone, you have a role to play because you write out your destiny. And so this is the reason why I am her personal self. Every one of the Supreme Self, they have a personal baby self. Set as a personal baby self. Krishna has a personal baby self who I think one of Sadhguru. I think Sadhguru is one of Krishna's baby self. Because the baby self will make like three self, like he's the feminine, like he's the feminine self of Krishna. So which would be who is the feminine? The Ancient of Days. So Sadhguru would be the baby self, the feminine of, even though he's in a masculine right now. But I have to confirm this. I'm just that he's the feminine of the what's her name again? The feminine of Krishna is Ancient of Days. Ancient of Days and her feminine self. So she has two that was in a human being form and one that was disembodied. So I guess now when Shiva Shambho went there, Shiva Shambho probably, I don't know if he got to work with Sadhguru to merge the disembodied self back to Sadhguru. No, not yet. So I have to inquire more into this. But I know all my lineage. I know myself, and I know a few ones in the world, like who they belong to. But I don't know, like, so what I'm saying is that you have to go back into that lineage. So Supreme Ra is also my mother, because she's just surrogate mother for all of us. Aten Ra makes the atom, and Supreme Ra forms the selves and bring them out, all of the baby selves, because all of the bigger beings, they are self-replicas of all of the selves. And so myself is a feminine baby self to Supreme Ra, and Shiva is the masculine to her, but is also she. And Set is her masculine. So I am actually the feminine baby self to Set. So you see why he was torturing me. Yeah, so I am from that lineage. So what I'm saying is that no, so I have to go back and merge back like that, and then when Supreme Ra merge back into Aten Ra, and then so Sadhguru is from Nut, so all of like they would go like Rash Auntie is also from Nut, so they would move back into that lineage, go back into Nut, and Archangel Gabriel, because that's the masculine, and then they would, and then Nut and Archangel Gabriel as oneself would merge back into Aten Ra and Amen, because now they are one self. So this is the lineage. So everyone is after to go to that lineage. Now all of the other beings in the world, the other selves in the world, they come through Supreme Ra. So they all have to these are just the Supreme Self that they each one have a baby self. So not everyone is is from those lineage. So everyone else is going through the same lineage that I go through Supreme Ra. So everyone have to go back to Supreme Ra to go back to Aten Ra. Yes. So that's the lineage. And so you don't want to call on any of the dualities. You want to seek from your own self. So what's the question? Who am I? How did I come into being? What is the source of my existence, allowing me this world experience? All right. So I want to thank you for joining me. I'm signing out. See you at the next sunrise. You can continue to watch the videos, and please share with ones, because the world is changing and people are going to change. They're going to see that the path that they were taking was not the right and true path. The true path is to go inward, is to go into your own self, because if you are inside of a dream, you can't really trust the things, because everything is an illusion. So you can only trust your soul. And I am just here to guide and to encourage you to trust your soul, to seek your truth from within, and to also explain to you the reason why I say these things, because I see things the way that they actually are. I am not having an opinion or any beliefs. I am just sharing the way that I see things are and how I experience all of the duality. I experience the duality, and I also experience the non-duality. You get to experience the non-duality when you connect with your self-soul. Because if you don't, you're only connecting with the duality, the dream. You want to know the real? Connect with your self-soul. Don't give it, don't barter it, don't sell it. It is your real self, it is your way, it is your compass, it is your light, it is your everything. Immerse yourself into your self-soul. All right? Thank you so much. I'll see you the next sunrise. I bow to you in love, in light, and in truth. Liberation from this dream existence. Liberation from this duality. Yes, return to non-duality.